Hala, do you have someone taking notes?
I would very much appreciate if you do it, Marilyn. Thank you. You're right on time.
I'll take care of it.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello again. I'm Sohaila Bano, President of the Fire Safe Council. We have also Marilyn, who's taking notes, the Vice President, and we have a couple of officers on sick leave. We have a new member of the advisory board, Ben Wise with Contra Costa Resource Conservation District. Ben, would you like to say a couple of words about yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone. I think I recognize some of your names. My name is Ben Weiss. I'm the Ag Conservation Manager here at Contra Costa RCD. I've been with the RCD now about 6 years, but basically over the last 2-ish years, we've been doing some fire planning under the Regional Priority Plan, which you may or may not have heard about. We did that with the Alameda County Resource Conservation District and put in a bunch of, I guess, more broader ideas and themes to hopefully support folks in finding future grants that relate to all this firework, especially some of the Fire Safe Council work that's going on. I'm here today mostly just to see where we can plug in, support the Fire Safe Council, help, maybe write applications or be a part of grant applications, just kind of see where it goes. And I guess I will share that we are in the process of hiring someone to work in our RCD strictly on fire issues. They're going to start here at the end of the month. So at the May meeting, I'll try and bring them along. And yeah, we'll just kind of see where it all goes. So thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We also had Chief Sailors join us from El Cerrito, but I believe he's unavailable today. We have some of the neighbors from El Cerrito Fire Safe Council. Gary's representing them. Thank you for coming. And thank you everyone for coming. Really appreciate it. So next item on the agenda is finding possible collaborators for CALFIRE grants. I would like to thank again Chief Ore, who came to the area, visited, and provided some suggestions about what may be qualifying grants. We're going to submit a grant application for a green climber, which is badly needed in this very high fire hazard severity zone area. We are also considering to partner with ConFire, Chief Bachman's here, and Chief Montoya, and submit a grant for planning, evacuation routes, parking restriction, traffic study, and signs. Also, another grant application we are considering in cooperation with Ben, who just introduced himself, who's going to tour our area on Thursday, an educational grant to tell people what to plan to prevent both mudslides and wildfires. I've received complaints from neighbors that their hills have been overgrazed by goats and there's a danger of mudslide. So we have fuel reduction issue and then we have mudslide issue. So Chief Montoya and Chief Bachman, would you like to talk about the possibilities of grants we're working on or?
Yeah, sure, I can start.
Thank you very much.
We spoke, Sohaila and I spoke last week about her request for the CALFIRE prevention grant. She had talked to Chief Ori with CALFIRE about some possibilities for planning and evacuation route assessment. She provided me a sample from the Kensington Fire Department that was done. I think it's a great idea and a framework to start from, but there's definitely a lot of work that needs done with determining the scope of the project, along with identifying what the estimated amount would be and how we're basing that number. I did get a chance to talk to Chief Ori on the phone this morning about the possibility of putting in for that grant, and He also affirmed that, we need to make sure we're providing accurate numbers. We just can't estimate or guess at what we think the study would cost. So I think a starting point would be, if you're wanting to model something after the Kensington study that was done, we need to confirm, like, how much did that study cost them? To be able to say, okay, what was the size of this project? What was the scope of it? Do we want to do the same? It's just, is it times 5? Is it times 10? What does the area include compared to the area that they assessed? And base the cost estimate off a previous study that has been done in that area. I'm not sure how many years ago that study was done, but identifying the cost factors based on that study, but making it scalable. So, because I think the results of that may determine, is the CALFIRE prevention grant the best grant to request for? I mean, are we talking about a $20,000 project, or are we talking about a couple $100,000 project? I think that's a big factor in saying what scope are we looking for, and what are you trying to accomplish with the application.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Marilyn.
I just wanted to chip in that the prioritization is that fire safe councils are not high. So it would actually be better for a government institution to be the lead on this. I just want to mention that because we're eager to partner, but we're not a priority for getting an award from the CALFIRE wildfire prevention grant cycle. I mean, it's just a reality, and we're such a baby fire safe council as well.
Yeah, and it's not, so we don't have an issue with kind of being the lead agency to apply for it, and it would be listed, it's a collaboration request, and we would be partnering with, and we would identify the Fire Safe Council and any other fire departments that are included outside of ConFire's area that we want to evaluate for this study. That's how we did our shaded fuel break request last year. It wasn't just in our jurisdiction. We were the lead agency that applied, and then we named the other agencies that it had the potential to impact.
Thank you. And I would like to add that Gary from El Cerrito Firewise community is here too, but just because of the issue of parking restrictions and, lack of parking restriction signs and proper evacuation routes. Chief Ora, do you have any comments or suggestions regarding how we can apply? Should it be ConFire or us, or in partnership?
Well, any qualifying organization that's listed in the guidelines can apply. But as Chief Bachman mentioned, there probably would be some advantages to them doing it with economies of scale in multiple jurisdictions. They're more of a known quantity, as pointed out. So as long as you get your wish list in there, I guess that's really the bottom line, isn't it?
Of course, yes. And they have better capacity for grant administration and implementation. So yeah, we can, I already provided a portion of the wish list. I'll be happy to provide the rest. And we provide all the help we can, But yes, so I agree, ConFire is in a better position to do that. So we're also partnering with the Resource Conservation District for vegetation management. And I know that Caltrans is here too, looking for partners for their fuel reduction and vegetation management. I believe they're looking for actually implementation. We're looking for an educational grant. Do you have any advice for us? I'm going to give Ben a tour of both areas that need fuel reduction and same areas in danger of mudslide, overgrazed by goats and everything. So neighbors learn what to plant to be fire resistant and keep the hill from erosion. Any suggestions or advice? Okay, we move on. Marilyn?
I just wanted to say that as a UC Master Gardener who wants to get this demonstration garden going, we would love to find some test sites with very different conditions to test Carapia, which has roots that go 7 to 8 feet down, 7 to 12 feet actually, depending on the soils. And it's a major erosion control. Planting requires irrigation the first year, especially if we're going to go having droughts around here, but is drought resistant after that. It was bred for this, and it's been tested in Southern California as well as Davis. So I just want to put it out there that if we partner with other groups, UC Master Gardeners as an institution would like to participate in documenting how successful they are in different soil conditions and everything.
Sure, thank you very much. Chief Montoya, would you like to add anything?
Just the grant application for the Green Climber. I know that's in-house with us. So just trying to facilitate that, working with Public Works, and then I know that you been working with a member in terms of to assist with the grant, the writing of the grant for the filling out the application. So yeah, just facilitating that, and then working out with Public Works where we would store that once, if in fact we are awarded the grant to purchase that Green Climber.
Great, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Gary from El Cerrito, would you like to add anything, or do you want me to coordinate submitting your wish list to Chief Buckman and the grant they're going to apply for? We hope it covers a larger area of West Contra Costa and not just Richmond.
Let me just say that El Cerrito, or at least the neighbors in El Cerrito, are concerned about egress for residents in case of an emergency, and ingress for emergency vehicle. And right now we have some very narrow streets in the hills, and there's no parking restrictions at all, except from 1 to 4 on school days on one side of the street around schools, so that kids can walk on the sidewalk. We don't understand why the fire department is hesitant to put up parking restrictions on red flag days. I mean, we would only request that they're restricted on red flag days so that residents can park there at other times. But they seem to be hesitant to ruffle any feathers. So that's one thing we're struggling with.
Thank you. Yeah, let's continue the discussion with Chief Bachman and possibly with Chief Sailors, as I'm sure all the areas will be included in the grant application. And again, I know Orinda spent $200,000 for their parking signs or parking restriction. Hopefully we'll have a successful grant application. We'll see.
So if I could just add, I just want to be cautious on wording that we're happy to lead this front. I do need to give a heads up to whichever supervisor's district that this would be impacting, because in order for us to apply, it's a formality, but in order for us to apply for a grant, we do have to take it to our fire board. So I would just want to give them a heads up that if this is the direction we're going to proceed, that they know that at the March meeting, they should be anticipating to see the request for us to apply for the CALFIRE prevention grant, and then we would identify what we're requesting and the impact it would have on our budget, which would be 0 because it's doesn't have a match requirement. But just, I just want to be cautious on how we're wording this. I don't want it getting out that we're applying for this grant with these other agencies, and our board of directors say they haven't heard anything about it. They will be hearing about it at the March meeting if we work together as a group and decide to proceed.
Thank you very much. I'll be happy to come to the board meeting in support of the application if you let me know where it is. I just wanted to ask everyone to look at the map behind me. I knew about the, how do I get out? So the red lines show the PG&E transmission lines under the ground, and the blue lines show hazardous liquid pipelines. This spaghetti is under the city of Richmond, but other areas have similar thing, but Richmond more than other areas. That's another reason why wildfire safety is very important to us. I don't have it here on the map, but Hayward Fault also goes through Richmond, crossing all those lines. So after the earthquake in Turkey, you might have seen video clips of gas pipelines erupting, which is really scary, horrific. I hope it won't happen in Richmond. We're doing our best, and this is one of the things we're doing. So thank you very much, everyone. If no more on this item, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is Richmond Fire Department on Hilltop Green egress route. And I know that our public works is short in the budget. So I wonder if we can use any of Measure X funds for that egress route.
That's something that we haven't explored, Sohaila, but definitely we could look into it. And I think to look at that would see, I would have to meet with Daniel in Public Works to see what they're using the Public X or Measure X funds in Public Works and maybe tie it in somehow that way. But that's a discussion that I would have to have with Daniel.
Sure, but we'd like to see if Measure X funds would be available for egress routes.
Right.
Chief Bachman, is that a possibility?
It is. Give me a second here. I think it's going to be best to share a page with you and bring this up to the group, because we have a formal process that you need to follow. So let me share my my screen. Can everybody see the home page of our screen so far?
Yes.
Okay, so if you'll see, this is the homepage of Contra County Fire. It's at www.cccfpd.org. Up here in the very far, this corner up here, it says Contra Costa County Wildfire Mitigation Project Proposals. We've sent this link out to everybody's contact. For most of you, it's probably the fire marshals, to say, please share this link, because we want you to put this link on your home pages as well. So when you click on that link, it takes you here, but then the important one is, then it says, okay, because this gives a little bit about the background of what the program does, what it can fund. You look here on evacuation route cleanups. Evacuation route cleanup focuses on maintaining fire access routes and fire trails to our highest wildfire threat areas. So yes, it is an available option for funding. So if I click on this, this is the page that, or the link that we have shared with everybody, because this is, let's say, the branding piece, that this program is funded through Measure X, which is a county program, and it represents every fire department. It's not a CALFIRE program. It's a Measure X program that is funded throughout the county for every fire department. So we created this page with the branding that we want to make sure everybody knows that no matter what fire district you're in, where you're at in Contra Costa County, these are the options you can apply for projects to be considered that Measure X will fund. Now, some of these, when we say Measure X will fund it, so Measure X also funds Crew 12. So an example of a community chipping day, we're probably going to send Crew 12 out and do the chipping. So we'll say the cost to Measure X is really zero, because it's in a different line that they're paying for Crew 12 year round. So there isn't an exact cost of that. Now, as far as evacuation route cleanup or a fire truck cleanup, like a fire truck cleanup, if we got to bring in a grader or a dozer or a contractor to do that because it's more extensive than what we can handle, then there's a cost associated with that, and it could come out of that, we'll say, bucket of money for consideration. Along with, so these are all the items that we have. And so Hila, I know that you've been asking about the home hardening. We're still working on the details of that. So if you look underneath that, so this program is not yet available, check back soon to apply. And as we get updates, we're gonna let that be known when that's an option. But this is the page. This is how you apply for projects to be considered for Measure X funding. When you click on one of these, it will take you through a series of questions. And one of those questions is, have you talked to your local fire department? And if so, who? Because if I'll use the city of Richmond example. If there's a project in Richmond that they want done for removal of dead trees or a strategic planning project for a firewise community, we want to make sure the fire department supports that. So they have to provide who is the contact that they've spoke with. And, because they'll fill out this form. And then what it does is this form gets sent to that fire district to provide a rating and provide confirming that they support this proposal. Once they get that, then it comes back to us and it gets put in a huge spreadsheet with all the projects from all these different areas that are being considered. Because what we know is by the end of this fiscal year, which is June 30th, we know that there'll probably be projects we haven't got to. But what we want to pass on to the Board of Supervisors and the Measure X committee is, we appreciate the funding. Here's all the projects we completed, and here's all the projects we still have applications for, requests for funding. This is what we estimate it's going to cost. So it's going to provide a very transparent outline of not only what we've completed and in as many cities as possible, but also here's how many applications we still have pending, whether it's pending funding or just pending, we haven't got to it yet. It's approved, we have the money, we just haven't got the contractor there yet to do the work. So it's going to provide, and then we'll be providing reports, or quarterly reports to provide those statistics starting in the spring for we'll say third quarter, and then fourth quarter, which is the end of June. So if we'll say evacuation route cleanup and you have this request and you're wondering, could it be considered for Measure X? Absolutely. But this is the process that you need to submit it through, and make sure you're talking to the local fire department, because you're going to need to make sure they're aware of it. Because once you fill this form out, we do submit, or it automatically submits it to the contact for that fire department, and they have to provide notes and rate it, and it comes back to us with information. So it goes accurately in the spreadsheet as like a scoring and a rating for each jurisdiction, because we're wanting to make sure we're distributing those funds equally throughout the county.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad we're recording this. Very useful information. For your information, that project I'm talking about, actually Chief Montoya and Pinole's fire chief visited it, but when we gave a tour to Chief Orred, Chief Montoya couldn't make it. Robert from Public Works came, and Deputy Director of Richmond Fire Public Works. It involves, it's very similar to the project we have in El Sobrante Pinole that you attended, Chief Bachman, and you're working on it right now. So it involves removing a concrete wall between the community that has only one way in and out, and behind the community to Pinole Shopping Center, and pavement. So I wonder if that project would qualify for Measure X.
We have a lot of latitude. If it can be associated with evacuation route cleanup or improving evacuation routes or access, creating a second way out of a community, absolutely. I think the question is always, is there any match associated with it? Is this like an example, the one in Pinole, where the city of Pinole said, hey, we'll pay for the paving and the grading work that needs done at the street on our property to make sure that when this new evacuation route, or this fire trail that could be used as an evacuation route, is opened up, we'll take care of our responsibility, which is the street, and provide that. Measure X provided the cost of the fence, the cost of the locks, the signage, the tree cleanup, if any grading was needed. It was a very short section. It's only 50 yards long, but the maintenance of that moving forward we'll take care of. It could be the same with this of whose land is it on? Is there any match that would be provided with it? Just when you fill out the application, make sure whichever jurisdiction it is in, that they support it and that they're providing the details if they're going to provide any match.
Thank you. Chief Montoya.
Yeah, so I had a question on for instance, the evacuation route, the fire trail cleanup. I know that we had that done by Crew 12 last year, and part of our end was to provide the debris removal after it was mitigated. So does that apply also to under the umbrella of the Fire Safe Council, or would they need to do the same thing?
It's kind of, what's the best way to word that? So in the process that was requested, that was a scenario where it was just a fire department saying, hey, can Crew 12 come out here and assist us in doing a fire trail cleanup? We knew there was no cost, we'll say, from the Measure X money that we were given. The only cost was they're funding Crew 12. So that's why we said, absolutely, we'll send Crew 12 out there. It's at no cost to you to do the work. And we did the work. We were just concerned that we didn't have this program set up yet to cover the cost of hauling off the debris or taking care of the debris. If you have a program that says we don't have the money to haul anything off and take care of that, then that's why I was asking, is there a cost match that can be provided? And if not, that's okay. If you're submitting a request to say, this is what we need done, but we can't cover any cost for the removal, then we know that we may send Crew 12 out to do the fire trail work, cleaning up the vegetation, but then hauling it off, chipping it, or getting rid of the debris would be a small cost that we would include in that spreadsheet that was added to, I think it's $1 million. How did we spend the $1 million that was given to us to distribute throughout the county on various projects that cover that whole list that's provided? So at the end, we got to provide the Measure X Advisory Council and our Board of Supervisors a report to say, how did we spend our $1 million? And they just said, make sure that we're not spending it all in one place. We're not spending it all on like one project. We're dividing it up throughout the county, and that we're trying to accomplish as many projects that get submitted. So that's why it's really important. It was like the emails were just getting overwhelming with all the requests that we were starting to get. We said, we've got to create a system that's going to track all these projects, where we're spending the money and how many we still have, we'll say, in the queue that we need to get to in the next year.
So what I'm hearing you say, under the Fire Safe Council, if they don't have the ability to utilize, for instance, here in Richmond, the Public Works support, then you can cover it entirely by the Measure X.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure that it's identifying that there's that you're requesting not only the cleanup of the trail, but also the removal of the debris. And then we're going to know, okay, so that's something that we would have to cover, and we would estimate what that cost is, based on, we go out, because you're also required to upload pictures when you submit the request, to just kind of give us an idea, how much vegetation are we talking about? If it's listed on the fire trail, you have to identify how long is it. We want to know, are we talking about $1,000 worth of cleanup that we have to haul off, or 10,000? Just so we kind of have estimates of what we think these projects are going to cost.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Buckman. While we're on this subject, would you like to provide an update on the community between El Sobrante and Pinole, the egress route?
So I forwarded that on to our Crew 12 and asked for their input if they're familiar with this. They said that they're familiar with the area up along Skyline. We actually did a cleanup in that area about a year ago. We had County Public Works come out and they chipped everything. It was a joint effort that we did. Some of the roads that are listed on there are private. And that's why they were not done initially. We're happy to extend that cleanup off of Skyline. We already did Skyline, so I would be surprised if there's concern. Yes, there's probably concern about the one way in and out of Skyline, but there shouldn't be the concern of overgrowth and trees hindering the double lane of evacuation or the 2 lanes that are on that road. Now, those side roads, yes, I'm sure there are. But I'll also caution that when we were out there, he did point out that there was a decent amount of resistance from some of the neighbors saying that they did not want their trees cut. But because that was a county road, we were able to proceed forward with that cleanup because it was in the right of way. When you get on the private roads, it's a little different story. We need to make sure the property owners want the cleanup and are requesting it. So that this would be another great project that you could submit, but we need to make sure that on the properties on private roads that we're cutting those trees, that the property owners are saying, will you please cut these trees in that's out in the road or overhanging that cleanup. I think we went about 3 foot off the edge of the road and went to the 13.6 height clearance was kind of the standard we used on the county road as we went around Skyline.
Their main concern right now is actually second egress route because there's only one way in and out for a large community. And as I told you, the residents are asking for escape route by foot because they're sure the situation is so bad they cannot get out in their vehicles. Is that feasible?
You know, I'm very hesitant about saying that that's the backup option is the foot route. There's so many variables that can play, you know, into that. You know, I'd be anxious to hear some of the other fire officials' comments on that, but I know I'm hesitant on saying let's organize and develop a secondary means out of a subdivision and identify that it's foot traffic, that because in order for that to be successful, there has to be so many other multipliers that come into play. So where are they evacuating to? Is there a safe area of refuge that when they get to the bottom of the hill, that is it organized as somebody else picking them up? Is there a safe place that they can retreat into? Or are they just standing along a road at the bottom of a hill? And what if the fire is moving that way? So I would be concerned about just saying, we're going to cut a path down through someone's property as a foot egress for a secondary way out. That there's a lot of other components that would need to be considered in order for that to be really I'd say a viable or successful plan.
Okay, based on your suggestion, I'm gonna send a map to everyone and maybe we can brainstorm together all the fire chiefs and find a practical solution.
And I went around that loop. So is there no other option for any type of secondary vehicle access through any other open space or trail that could be used as an emergency evacuation route? Even if it's dirt that's not improved, there's no other option on that loop.
Correct, no other options.
Okay.
Okay, and final question for you, Chief Bachman. Update on Galbraith and Rancher Road. How is it going?
So the gate's done. I believe it was through either vandalism or someone trying to open the gate when it was locked. There was some damage to one of the hinges. We put in a request for the fence company to come back and repair the gate. We're still we have not got the fire trail sign posted yet. We're confirming with our vendor to match the type of signs that we have in portions of the county. We think we're going to take it to the new standard to say this is the type, this is the exact decal size signage, and it's consistent on all our fire trails. So we're wanting to be consistent with the new sign that goes up. I'm not concerned about that being labeled as the fire trail. I mean, that was one of the things we did promise the homeowner, so it will be done. And it will be updated in the CAD system. But there is a lock on the gate. It has their padlock and one of our fire trail padlocks on it. I don't know the status of the road, the piece that the city of Pinole has promised to take care of. But the only thing we're waiting on, and we did the cleanup with the vegetation on that short portion of the trail. The only thing we're waiting on finalizing is we got to get the fire trail sign posted on the gate, and we need to get the fence contractor back out there to do the repair. I believe the damage happened before the padlocks and the chains were on. Somebody forced the gate open and didn't know how to open it properly.
Great, thank you very much. Sounds like almost done. I appreciate it. With that, we move to East Bay Regional Park District. Chief Healy, if you could provide an update on the discussion we had at the end of our great tour of the areas, and there were areas that the residents asked for fuel reduction, like that banked area, and we asked for fire danger signs, and also we wanted to ask you to make sure that your maintenance division is in communication with your department, because last time we discovered there's a disconnect between the fire department and maintenance of the park.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. We actually had a tour with a bunch of different departments within the district. If anybody is in the Cloud View, I think it's Cloud Lane, or but near El Sobrante, you might have saw a whole fleet of district vehicles. And that was us doing a tour with a bunch of different departments: stewardship, park operations, fire department. And what we were doing is looking at areas that are currently not an RTA. Some areas that are RTAs, areas that aren't in the RTA. And so, for example, the area that was off of San Pablo Dam Road, we call it FRB land because it was given to us by, I think it was like a bank or something. But anyway, Fire Trail 3 is the trail. And so I was able to get that on our work plan for 2023, which is very big. If it's not on our work plan, then it's just kind of on top. So it's on our work plan. And what we plan to do is have our field crew do work in that area off of the trail. There's only about 5 homes that are immediately off that trail. And so anyway, we're going to have our field crew do some work there. And we're able to do that within our land use plan because we have some CEQA permitting under that. But it's not within one of our, what we call our recommended treatment areas, where we have CEQA clearance that we can do for, keep it simple, higher level thinning. There's only so much you can do depending on your CEQA permitting. And so we are going to be able to do a little bit under the land use plan of the district for that particular area. So that's positive. And the grazing portion of the district, so the grazing within stewardship, they were there because we wanted to see once we do some work with our crews, if we would be able to use our grazing program and add that area in so that we could maintain it through our goat program. So there's a lot of details involved, and we're looking at erosion and plant species and all different environmental concerns to determine if that's something that's a possibility. And then also there's different permitting that would be required to be able to do grazing. And so that tour was to get the right people out there to discuss all the different options so that that could potentially be a plan that would be put in place. So that's positive movement that didn't exist last year. And I'm going to share my screen real quick. I want to show you. Let me see if it's going to let me share the screen. Share. We all see the map?
Yes.
Okay. So this area here, what we call SO001 for Sobrante Ridge. And this is one of our RTAs. And so that pink, this little pink line shows the area that we have CEQA clearance still to do work. And this year, we plan to do initial treatment in this area. So that's one of the projects I told you about last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was on our work plan for this year. We create a 2-year work plan based off priority of hazardous fuels and a bunch of different parameters. And so it's on the work plan for this year. Can't say exactly when this year it's going to be done, but I definitely can't commit that it's going to get done this year. Unless I feel confident it's going to get done this year. So that's good news, but that's off of, looks like Rain Cloud Drive, SR1. And I want to show you something else here. We have another RTA over here next to Coach Drive. And we did initial treatment in this area back in, let me see what it tells me here. Looks like we did, yeah, so 2015, this blue is where we did initial treatment. And then in 2016, we did initial treatment here in the green area. And then this brown area, what that represents is that since then, we've been maintaining this RTA through our grazing program. And so our stewardship department, when we were over in the FRB land off of Fire Trail 3, the area that you and I all walked familiar when we did that tour, they were able to look across the ridge line and they were giving feedback to the person that we have on our team that's in charge of the grazing program. And they felt that there was some overgrazing that happened in that area. So that's another thing that happens is every year after the program has been ended for the year, during a year, at the end of the year, we have a lack of a better term, a hot wash, where we take all the notes of where we would have liked to do grazing, what area we think doesn't need to be grazed anymore, what area would we prefer to have the herd get there earlier, how long to keep the herd there. It's all those type of details gets documented and then refined so that the next year the program gets better. And so it's generations of people in my position doing those type of things so that the grazing program gets better each year. So those are the two things I wanted to talk about, and I want to show you one more thing while I have my screen shared. You all see a Word document. All right. So these are the fire danger signs that we have authorized to be placed at Wildcat Canyon Park. And so should be able to happen before fire season. I think we have plenty of time to make that happen. But we have the approval from our agency to be able to do that. There's different reasons of why we can do it and why we can't, but we're in support in the fire department in the district to have these signs placed up in the park because we believe to promote the different fire danger based off our fire danger rating system would be helpful for our park patrons, but also for the neighbors who are driving by. Maybe they might do some of the things that we do internally in our parks if they see that it's an extreme fire day, and we shouldn't be having burning or using charcoal for barbecues. Hopefully the neighbors will do the same type of restrictions that we do within our park boundaries. And so for those reasons, we thought it would be very beneficial to authorize having those signs installed. All right, let me go ahead and stop sharing. Yeah, so that's there's obviously other things that we have going on. We have additional work planned over at Wildcat Canyon. Now, all the work that we've already done, we maintain. I don't want to show you all the maps of the different areas that are maintained, but the areas that we've done before are maintained, and the areas that I showed you are new areas where initial treatment will be occurring.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your attention to the concerned areas and also ordering fire danger signs. May I ask how many of those signs we get and what locations?
Based off our conversation, unless I interpret it differently, we were just going to order one, and it's going to be placed at the main entrance of Wildcat Canyon. Based off what I was told from our park supervisor, there was really two entrances to Wildcat Canyon, the main entrance, and then there was another much smaller staging area that I guess is not as attractive as much as the main entrance. So we were looking for the main entrance. Can't tell you exactly where the main entrance, because those details we're going to leave up to park supervisor to figure out. But the good news is we in the fire department authorized the sign to be purchased by us and installed by the park staff, and so that's good. And then to kind of wrap up the conversation, when I talked about the agency being able to communicate better amongst our different divisions, there's, historically, the fire department has permitting within 3,000 acres within our fuels plan, and it's mainly targeted between Richmond Hills all the way out to Pasture Valley. And it's usually up in the hill. It's up in the hills for the majority of the part, and areas that were affected by the Diablo winds. In areas outside of that, there was not the same level of the initial treatment was not occurring. But now, as of lately, the state CALFIRE has made different permitting options more available. So we're going through the permitting process currently. We just finished, it's called a CALBTP, and we have been spending the last year working on one, and it's going to be wrapped up. Should be going to our board in March. I think we're applied for, let's say it's 2,600 acres. So if our current fuels plan was 3,000 acres, 2,600 is significant. We targeted areas that were ridge lines, areas that were outside of our current plan that we wanted to build a treat because of the dieback and other challenges affecting our parkland. So if that is successful, then this should be a potential option for us to do additional permitting for areas that were outside of our current fuels plan. If we talk to any agency that had a historical fuels plan like ours, the amount of time and litigation that we went through to get that accomplished, literally 10 years of litigation, to open it back up, it's not something that we look upon lightly. But now there's other options available to the state that make permitting much more easier to accomplish. 10 years versus 1 year versus 10 years. And the 1 year was really just for us learning a new process. The next one that we do, I feel pretty confident will be a lot quicker. And there's also additional tools being made available as far as high resolution mapping that will be coming out very soon. And all those tools will help us identify better areas that need fuels management work and give us the ability to prioritize what areas should be permitted. And then once that's occurred, then we can go through the process of permitting. And then internally, we have the budget challenges of providing to leadership what amount of personnel would be required and budgeting and all the rest. So that's pretty much how that works.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate all the great work and the good reporting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask EBMUD representative to tell us about their fuel reduction and fire danger signs. Mark, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. We just have our normal maintenance of the areas. There's not a lot of areas of watershed. I'm responsible for the watershed sector. I don't know if some of these areas are some of our facilities, but we cattle graze like over where Kari was just shown. Beyond that is our property. We normally cattle graze every year. We run a disc line on would be maybe the east side of the Carriage Hills properties, and also run a disc line, on Castor Ranch Road, Alhambra Valley Road, and Pinole Valley Road. That's on our property, all throughout that area. And then the dead pines that we have on the east shore of San Pablo Reservoir, we're in our second phase right now of removal. That's going well. The rain has slowed some of it down, but that's moving forward and getting taken care of.
Any idea how many trees will be removed this year? I keep receiving pictures of those dead pine trees.
Yes.
From concerned residents.
I think there'll be about 1,400 down by the end of the season here, at the end of February. So.
Excellent. Okay, so the pictures will look differently when they take them after the end of February.
You can actually now, the layperson can drive down Dam Road and look across, and it's noticeable now that there's work going on over there.
Excellent. And about fire danger signs, similar to what Chief Healy showed us.
I guess I wasn't at the last meeting. I'm not familiar with any of that.
Can we request having those, please, around the reservoir? That's very important, where people barbecue, or I don't know.
Oh, I think we already have some of those. I'll check into the people that run the reservoirs. I know we have some of those around, like in certain areas, but I will check and then I'll report back.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Could I suggest you look specifically at the San Pablo Dam launch site at the San Pablo Dam Road? It has huge visibility and it should be very convenient for a sign.
Okay, I'll put that down. I know there's not one down there, but there may be one going into the main recreation area.
Thank you, Merlin. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Mike Wilson, I noticed you have some suggestion to our fire chiefs, and if you could provide an update on the cameras requested too, please.
Thanks, Sohaila. And Chiefs, I dropped a note in the chat. So we're currently doing our Alert California pre-fire season training for dispatch personnel and for assigned command staff that have access to our camera system. Just encouraging all the chiefs, please, if you have personnel in your dispatch centers and or company officers that you would like to get access to our Alert California cameras, just email me. We'll get you set up with the training for your department specific and be able to get everybody on board with the ability to control the cameras complete system there. So that's about it for Alert California update.
Thank you. Any update on our request for a couple of cameras in Wildcat Canyon or Sobrante area?
Still working with some of your different local agencies and reaching out to them, wait for some response back.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll check in 3 months again in our next quarterly meeting. I wonder if Caltrans representative is still here who wanted to talk about fuel reduction partners. Maybe not. And finally, I just wanted to announce that we just got a little mini grant for our website. Marilyn's working on it. And if you have any suggestions for what should go on it, please provide it by next quarterly meeting, which is approximately when we may be ready to accept suggestions. And I have one final question from you all. I received comments from residents that they're very concerned about the railroad, possibility of earthquake, all the dangers in the map behind me and everything. Should we include railroads on our fire advisory board? I have no idea. I would appreciate advice, educating me. Marilyn?
I have a question. Do we have railroads within our
yes.
area? We have BART.
No, in Point Richmond area, there is
yes.
a railroad, and the train actually blocks the egress route for a long period because it is in a residential area and moves very slowly. So that's a major concern. Okay, so if there are no comments, I guess we can reach out to them and ask them to be on the board and help us with providing those egress routes or making, I don't know, maybe shorter trains or anything. Any more comments, suggestions, anything? I'm glad we're on time, close to the end, but we have a few minutes left if anybody has anything to say. No? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And thank you for allowing me to record it. I'm sure the community appreciates all the information too. So on behalf of them, I thank you too, and have a good day and see you in 3 months. Thank you. Bye.